The mechanism of social engineering. Here we're going to learn a few different concepts. The first important concept is between first hand and second hand information. That's very kind of important, this concept. And it's very eye opening too. Once you understand this, your life is drastically going to change. I mean, I'm sure this is a wisdom level insight, right? You probably have never thought about it. All right. The second point we're going to understand is social psychological manipulation, right? What is social psychological manipulation? Third, we're going to look at controllers of information flow, how social media has power over you. And then finally, we're going to look into mainstream versus alternative information sources. So let's go. So first, what is social engineering, right? Let's break down this kind of phrase, right? It's not a phrase, but two words. Social. What's social? Anytime we are working with a group setting, right, with a group of people, a group of animals, or group of whatever, right, that's social. I mean, animals have different social levels, right? Some animals, we've got the lone wolf, probably lone wolf who moves around by themselves. But most animals, they work together, right? That's social. You see, lions are a good example. They work in a pride, right? They work in the pride and they're very successful in surviving. So social has to do with that survival aspect, right? That's social. Human beings are at the pinnacle of social kind of hierarchy, I would say. Or if there's a scale on 1 to 10, right? Being who's the most social, I would say humans are at 10, level 10, right? Whereas lions are probably at level 2, and animals are generally between levels 1 to 2, right? Plants non-existence, they don't have, I mean, probably there is some research somewhere, right? But anyway, that's social, the first word. Second thing is engineering. What is engineering? Engineering is basically building something, designing something to achieve a certain objective, right? So you're manipulating, I won't say manipulating. So you are trying to design something, a system, or let's just call it a system, right? I mean, again, many different meanings you can extrapolate from the word engineering, but fundamentally you are trying to build a system to achieve a certain objective, right? You are trying to move people into a certain herd. In this context of social engineering, you're trying to move that group in a certain direction, basically herd them, right? The word herd is basically you're moving them into a certain direction. Again, move, not literally move them physically, but you're making them take some action, just like farm animals, right? What do you do? I mean, just try to visualize this, right? Sheep, for example. One shepherd and a couple of dogs, maybe they can herd herd a bunch of sheep, right? Maybe thousands of sheep to move into a certain direction and really reap the benefits, right? By sharing the wool or getting the meat or whatever that may be, right? Whatever, however they harvest it. But the whole point is like, I mean, if you again think about this, right? Human beings have achieved this pinnacle of social engineering, right? Domestication of animals is probably one of the heights of human civilized society, right? What's civilized, by the way? Civilized is when you kind of can thrive, really, right? You have certain rules that you follow. And again, I'm digressing a bit, but the word social and engineering is, I mean, I've put a definition over here, right? Let's read that. The act of precisely manipulating a group of people to herd them into a certain direction, like farm animals. And again, social is a group, right? That group could be 10 people, 100 people, thousands of people, millions of people, billions of people, right? So the key word here is done at scale. Whenever you hear the word social engineering, you know it's being done at scale, right? Not just to one person. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, if you think of it, right, how do you move? I mean, again, going back to our sheep example, right? It's very simply, it's mind over matter. If you can influence the mind, then you move matter, right? Think about this like a software program, right? How machines work. Machines their movement, I mean, robotics, right? Robots move in certain direction, however, but it's all the coding that you have put in, right? That's the mind. That's the mind. The code is the mind for that machine, for that robot that moves it. So again, social engineering is mind over matter. You are engineering in that group, the group of people, right? By manipulating the mind. Let's look at a few synonyms, right? Manipulation, scamming, brainwashing, deception, gaslighting, and my favorite, mass psychosis. Mass psychosis is when you can do it at such a big, tremendous scale. That's, I mean, that's awesome, really. If you can achieve something at such scale, usually it's done to a small group of people, right? Small group of people, but mass psychosis is a different beast altogether of social engineering. So now let's look at why, right? Why do somebody, I mean, again, going back to our sheep example, right? Why does the farmer want to manipulate the sheep to whatever, like move from one grassland to the other and then back to their home, right? Not just wander about and go on doing whatever they would do in their life, the sheep, right? I mean, all go out into the wild and live there. The key word here is power and profit. Everybody, it's like, let me move on here, right? The employers of the mechanism want to gain something. And who is it? I mean, very basically humans, right? Humans crave most power and profit. Now, let's look at first and second hand information, right? And understand the difference. What's first hand and what's second hand? That's very key important. That's very, very, very important. So let's look at this, right? There's some event happening on planet Earth, and this is how you get, if you are right at that location and you get that information with your own eyes and your own ears, you hear it, you're right there and there, right? That's first-hand information. You are there, right? At that place. But that's first-hand information again, like I was saying, first-hand information, you are right there and there. But obviously, you cannot be at 100 places at the same time, right? You rely on somebody to relay that information. In the old days, it was television, but now it's social media, right? Social media relays that information to you, and you get it through that tiny screen. Just the video and the audio, right? And that's second-hand information for you. That's second-hand information. How do you judge? That's a different topic, but it's not first-hand information. You weren't there. There's so many critical pieces of data that you miss out, right? That you can miss out within that second-hand information. So, what can this second-hand information do? It can change your mood for the better or for the worse, right? Bad or good or bad, right? You usually want good, but then your mood, like I said again, right, that if your mood is your algorithms, your thought processes, right, that affects your outcomes. If you get bad data and your mood is bad, right, and that can affect your outcome in a negative way, right? Similarly, if you get good data in a positive way, that can affect your outcome in a positive way. And how is this done, right? Let's look at this. This is this is the key kind of portion, right? Between first and second hand information. Second hand information is subject to psychological manipulation, right? Even first hand, I mean, when you are absorbing information by yourself, right? You're not trying to manipulate yourself. Maybe you are, if you're kind of biased, right? That's bias is another topic. But most of the time, human beings are not biased. When we observe information, that's the purity of us observing that scenario. Again, our interpretation may be different, but when you are observing second-hand information, right, you are prone to psychological manipulation. What is psychological manipulation? Let's have a look, right? Manipulating emotional polarity to change your opinion and move in a particular direction. Emotional polarity, that's the key kind of concept within that concept you need to understand. Social psychological manipulation is all about emotional polarity. You might get excited about something. See, again, human beings, right? We are not machines. Machines don't have emotion, right? when they operate, it's just a code. They don't care. They're not sentient. Whereas you are a sentient person, right? Human beings or any living animal, right? They're sentient. Their operational framework, the thinking framework is based on emotion, right? And emotional polarity. Very broadly, we think very simplistically at a very subconscious level, positive or negative emotion, right? So if you have that positive emotion, you're going to take some positive action. You're going to take some action. Whereas in negative emotion, again, would be different. So let's have a look at some of the mechanisms of psychological manipulation, starting with fear, right? Fear of missing out. We've heard the word FOMO, right? FOMO is when we see that a group of our group, right, the group that we associate with, is doing some action or doing something, and we are not doing it, right? We feel that, all right, we might miss out, so we stick to that herd, stick to that group. That's FOMO. Scarcity. Again, scarcity is very interesting, right? Even in social media, it's been used in e-commerce sites to show that whenever you're trying to buy a product, you see like one product left or two products left, then you feel, all right, I'm going to miss out if I don't buy now, so let me just click and buy, right? So that's scarcity. That's one way of interpreting scarcity. The second key kind of area is herd think, right? Herd think. Again, what is herd? It's social, right? Group think. Social proof is one very key kind of aspect. If we see that somebody, the group kind of approves of a certain aspect, right? They say that this is good, right? Whoever that social group may be, it might be a small circle of our very close friends, or it could be our big tribe, or it could be a community, right? So whenever we hear that, oh, social proof, or they approve of something, they see, oh, this is good, we immediately kind of follow that, right? Then there is reciprocity. We like people who like us. That's the whole, I mean, if you go back to the days of Facebook, right, in 2013, they had the poke feature. You poke somebody and then somebody pokes you back again. It's like it's a version of liking, right? Again, liking, disliking, all these work very closely, are very kind of key components of herd think, right? Now, next, moving on to trust. What is trust? Trust, again, we believe trust in authority is one component. We work on trust, right? Whenever you work in such a big group, like I said, you cannot be at 100 places at the same time, right? You have got to trust somebody. How do you trust? Authority is something we trust, right? Authority is when somebody is at a position of power. We see that, okay, they are, people kind of look up to them, right? When they have passed out from some school, academia, they're working, they've got whatever that may be, right? Authority, like doctors, right? We see doctors, okay, they've got their degrees, so this and that, okay, we trust them, right? That's blind belief in authority. But the other aspect of trust is word of mouth, right? I mean, obviously humans are intelligent, right? They just don't blindly trust authority, but we also trust word of mouth, right? People within our circles, our close friends, we value their opinion too. And that's why, I mean, virality is such an important aspect, right? How do things go viral? We kind of gossip. We love to gossip, right? If we have something that we cannot express, again, society is a very kind of complex structure with multiple different rules, right? Word of mouth and virality is what we do. We talk with our friends, we talk with our whatever those group may be, and that's another aspect of building trust. So again, key kind of here, I've written psychological manipulation. I should probably call this social psychological manipulation, right? Manipulating emotional polarity to change opinion and make you take, I said move, but make you take action in a certain direction, right? Good or bad. So again, thumbs up for the first hand information. I think as you go through your life, right, you kind of start valuing this first hand and second hand information. I think smart people would value first hand information. But again, within this kind of age of interconnectedness, the internet, right, it's very hard to rely just on first hand experience. And yeah, very hard to progress too. So now let's look at this aspect, right? What does every human being want? Now coming to the second concept, what does every human being want? They want good outcomes, right? health, wealth, happiness. In today's interconnected and globalized world, you have to rely on other sources of knowledge for all aspects of your life, namely your health, your wealth, and your happiness, right? I mean, you go to the doctor, you haven't gone through medical school, but you rely on the doctor, right? And that's what kind of, you rely on people. You have to rely on a social scale, on a social environment. Human beings, we rely on others for our well-being, right? Health, wealth, happiness, whatever that may be. So now let's look at this. I want to kind of make you understand the difference between your data sources, right? Whenever, how do you got your information sources from different people or different platforms or whatever that may be, right? There are two main categories that you need to be aware of: mainstream versus alternative, right? Mainstream, what is mainstream versus alternative? Let's have a look. I'm sure you have heard it, but the key word, right, the key concept to understand here is centralized versus decentralized, right? Again, I can't stress this enough. Mainstream versus alternative, centralized versus decentralized. What is centralized? Controlled by a few, right? Whenever, I mean, this is like I said, right? Human beings crave power and profit. They want, I mean, that's in our, I won't say human beings, any animals, right? Any sentient beings, any living being, they want to have things for themselves, right? So anytime a centralized system is established, is obviously centralized, the whole concept means a few people control it, right? And then it inadvertently leads to power and profit, right? Whereas alternative is decentralized, right? Controlled by many. And there's no scope for power consolidation, right? When there are so many different players, right? Everybody has their own opinion and own way of working. It is like there is no scope of power consolidation really in this point, because we limit the upper limit, right? How big it can be, right? Is it too big to fail? No, we don't make it too big to fail. We put an upper limit so that they don't grow beyond a particular size, and that way they remain healthy, right? That's a very important concept, right? I'm sure I've just put a few words over here, but that's something for you. I would like to hear your opinion. Put it down in the comments, and your ruminations, right? Your thoughts on it. I mean, what do you think of this? Because I think it's something that you can ponder for years, really, to really still kind of come up with new things on this bit, right? Decentralized. Lots of important people have spoken about that, but anyway. So let's go understanding. So that's a key concept, right? Here I've put an animation of your key concept. Keep that in mind. So let's, again, going back, right? You might think, oh, mainstream versus alternative, some event happening on the planet, and your goal, right? Again, I said some event, but you want information from the society, right? That's society. Actually, I should put society over there, right? You might get some good and bad information, right? And it affects you really from whatever that sources may be. So again, you need some knowledge, right? You, in the society that you live, you get knowledge from your society, and that bad knowledge or bad data, right, can get you bad outcomes, right? And your whole goal here is health, wealth, and happiness, right? But if you get bad data, that gives you bad outcomes. So that's it basically. First hand and second hand information and data sources, alternative, mainstream. I hope this video kind of gave you value, and if you liked, please comment, subscribe, and support me. Thanks.